The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. On February 16, 2026, a shipment arrived in Ouagadougou. On paper, it was 345,000 US dollars worth of civilian and military equipment, generators, electrical transformers, and water filters. To the west, this looks like small change, but they are missing the forest for the trees. This isn't just aid. This is infrastructure for war. You cannot run a revolution without power. You cannot sustain an army without clean water. Russia isn't just giving weapons. They are building the foundation of a state that can survive a blockade. While the West sends humanitarian lectures, Russia is sending the hardware of sovereignty. While everyone was watching Ghana, something quieter happened. Burkina Faso just joined Mali and North Korea in imposing a tit-for-tat visa ban on US tourists. This is more than a diplomatic spat. This is a strategic realignment. In 1983, Thomas Sankara looked to North Korea for irrigation and military training. Today, Ibrahim Traore all is picking up that broken phone. Why North Korea? Because they are the masters of the Juche self-reliance. North Korea survived decades of harshest sanctions in history by becoming a fortress state. This is exactly what the AES is doing. They aren't just moving east, they are learning how to build a country that the West cannot shut down with a button in Washington. What Africans are not seeing is the pattern of the furnace. Look at China in 1949. Look at Russia after the fall of the USSR. They were humiliated, broke, and surrounded by enemies. How did they rise? They kicked out foreign exploiters. They secured their borders with iron fist, military help from allies. They focus on internal production. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are in the 1949 phase. The West calls it instability. The Sahel calls it the Great Reset. By partnering with China for infrastructure and Russia for security, the AES is bypassing the colonial middleman. The sun does not forget a village just because it is small. Soon, the village of the Sahel will be the powerhouse of the continent.
Let's start with this concrete gesture of solidarity of 200 million francs. And water purification kits handed over this afternoon. Forces Burkina equipment who comes to contribute. The momentum of operational capacity. Troops building on the ground. This celebration of the Russian Federation on the axis, Ouagadougou-Moscow, not Bakuda, Mauniwanga. The Ouagadougou-Moscow axis goes to wonder, a statement that makes sense. This solidarity show by the Russian Federation to the Burkina Army CE donation of a value of about 200 million francs is composed of 10 models, 15 electrical transformers, as well as 150 water purification kits submitted to the free title are sealed. As part of a larger humanitarian project whose implementation has been made possible by to the agreements concluded between the Minister of Defense of Russia également an important step in the realization Faso's liberalization and development objectives. To this material is added the renovation of social infrastructures, includes the construction of schools and various infrastructure or military actions, as many initiatives that the vitality and diversity of the cooperation between the two nations, and on a practical level, equipment will be deployed in the areas in fort. And also for combatant forces, where access to electricity and access to drinking water are major challenges. Donc je peux dire que ce matériel est venu au bon moment, came at the right time, and also this material will be important for us in the CAS, and therefore the conduct of our operational activities under the impulse of the sovereign, Traoré Burkina Faso, has resolutely opted for the diversification of SES partnership. C'est donc humanitaire est la preuve qu'avec la Fédération de Russie, humanitarian donation is the proof of men that with the Russian victory cannot be achieved par les armes, but also by the well-being and resilience of the populations.
Here is a suspense the mainstream media won't tell you. The AES is the laboratory for the new Africa. If Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso succeed in creating their own currency, replacing the CFA franc and securing their borders with Russian intelligence, the dominion of the West in Africa is finally over. People say, but they are poor. Remember, 40 years ago, China was a peasant nation. Today, they hold the world's debt. In 20 years, we won't be talking about the Sahel crisis. We will be talking about the Sahel economic miracle. The 345,000 US dollars from Russia is the spark. The North Korea travel pact is the shield. The Chinese investment is the fuel. Quiet moving water undermines the bank. The AES is the bank. The AES is moving quietly, but the foundation of the old world is already crumbling. The West cannot have peace. Looking at the way things are moving fast in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, they are bleeding. Africans, wake up. You are watching the birth of the Russian and China of Africa. The question isn't if they can be trusted. The question is, are you ready to follow the leaders who finally realize a borrowed coat never keeps you warm? The Sahel has stopped borrowing the West coats. They are sewing their own, and if it's made of Russian steel and Chinese gold, then we love it. Africa, this is our time. We need to own our narrative. We need to stop borrowing. We need to stop talking. We have to make sure we take our own destiny into our own hands. There's nobody that can come here to set us free. We have lived under this illusion of the West coming to save Africa. And we are still where we are. With speech and nothing more. And this is the time that we follow the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso to make sure Africa finally is where it's supposed to be. We should be our own fighters. What we want to see might take time. 40 years ago, how was China? And today, how is China? So what we are seeing in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso would take a long time. But even if we don't live to see the result, our generations to come will look down this day and thank you and I for fighting for their liberation. Like one time Captain Ibrahim Traoré said, our children will ask us, the next generations will ask us, why didn't we fight? Just like the way sometimes we ask, why did our forefathers allow themselves to be enslaved? They wrote the story to suit them as if our forefathers sold us into slavery. They were forced and they resisted. They fought. They didn't tell you how a lot of people decided to end their lives in the ocean just simply because they do not want to serve the oppressor. It's the same way our children, our generations to come will question us. And that is why you and I must come together and fight for the total liberation of our children. We might not live to see, but our generations to come will finally see they had leaders who fought for their total liberation. Just like Yellow Pawpaw is enjoying the fruit of their ancestors, it's the same way our generations will enjoy. So you and I have a responsibility to make sure we fight for the total liberation of the African. Enough. Some of us want to always see quick actions. If the gold, the uranium, the diamond, the cocoa, and everything is in the hands of the military leaders, where is the money? We will not see what they are building today. And that is why you and I must have the vision of decades and not today. Because if you want to enjoy what they are doing today, you might be disappointed. Chinese, the Koreans, the Russians were not thinking about the result the time they started. If they were, Russia, China, Korea would have still been poor countries. So you and I in Africa must have that spirit of endurance and believe that whatever these our leaders are doing is for a long run. So we might not see. Some of us might be fortunate to live, to see, but by then we might be old, weak, and we might be telling the stories of today. But majority of us might not. And that doesn't mean because we wouldn't benefit from it today, we don't have to contribute. Africa must be free and our children deserve the best. The black person isn't inferior, and that is why we need to fight for the total liberation of the African. Wherever we go in the world, nobody regards us, but we are the richest in the world. So we need to fight for our rightful place in this world. We cannot continue to allow the oppressor to be taking the resources, building the skyscrapers in their home, and still sit there and point fingers at us and call us poor, because we are not poor. Africa isn't a poor continent. Neither are the citizens or the people in Africa poor. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world in Africa, West Africa, and in Burkina Faso.